Hello and welcome back to Project 944. We have once again returned to LUDEN Automotive to attack my Porsche 944 S2. Now today we're going to be doing the discs and pads all round. Now some of you may have seen my BMW E46 video which I did the brake pad change on. Needless to say it didn't go fantastically, so this should be entertaining. So today we're going to be changing out the brake pads and the discs, as I mentioned earlier. We've got brand new, vented, padded, massive disc brakes to go on the front and rear. And needless to say, after, as I said before, the E46 video, it'll be interesting to see how I cope. Because I also have Jared here with me, who's actually behind the camera. Don't know if he's able to probably pick up on the microphone. Hello. There you go. There is Mr. Jared Hodges. So we're going to be attacking and seeing what we can do today.
So let's have a quick recap. Previously we said we'd be covering the timing belts and the water pump change, and we did actually record some of this, but due to the dreaded C word, we had to do most of this off camera.
So let's get to work, I think. Now the first things first, we need to get the center, not center locking, but the wheel locking nuts off of the alloy itself. Now I would like to mention we have actually had some of Luke's mechanics help with this because it would not budge for love nor money. So he's very kindly done that for us. So now, fortunately, it's now finger tight and it comes off rather lovely like that. So thank you very much for your help with that one. Kind of needed it.
So the first step was to get the car lifted on the ramp and remove the Cup 2 alloys from the car. So far, so good. No hidden surprises.
Ah, yes. Wonderful. And will. Perfection. Yes.
Job done.
Job done. That's it. Go home. See you later, guys. Bye. So, this is what we're dealing with at the moment. Now, needless to say, Mr. Hodges over here agrees that he's just not got a clue what's going on. Right. Now that we've got the wheel off, the next thing is actually get the clips off of the caliper off. Now, Porsche's got an ingenious system with this caliper. Is that there's actually there's like a mesh rod, like a cross here in the caliper. Probably you can see that. I'm assuming you probably can. That keeps all of the brake pads in place. Now this is great because it means that you don't have to take the caliper off to actually change the brake pads. All you do is you unclip this this cross metal thing, and the pads just slip out. It's fantastic. There's also a pad wear sensor here that we've got to be kind of aware of. I do have one coming, although it's not with us today. So what I think we may have to do is just use the current one for now. The car's not going anywhere. And then we'll change it once the new one's on as well. Because what you're meant to do is these two, you pull them into each other and it releases from each end, and then the clips come off. I think because these clearly I don't think have been touched in quite a while, you might need a bit more strength than your bog standard pliers, I think. So we will see what we can find to get this off, I reckon. Behave yourself. Don't think it's going to play ball with us today. Oh, yes. Yes. There we go. Right, that's one. Now we've got the top off. I think the next one is trying to get the bottom, then it'll be pad sensors, then it'll be the rear bolts on the caliper, then the caliper should just come off fine. And then, this has been much easier than the BM. Much easier.
You think?
It was in fact not as easy as the E46 and took a lot more effort to do.
This is proving harder than I imagined, and naturally with any tutorial on YouTube, ours isn't like that. Because any tutorial that you do watch, everything comes off perfectly well. Naturally, ours doesn't. Now, to give you some context to this, I bought this car in 2019, and before that point, it had not been on the road for about 10 years. So it's quite possible that the reason why this is so seized is because they're 10-year-old brake pads. So we need to get these off pretty soon, and I get the feeling I may have to kind of wreck the current sensors that are in there to get them out, because I don't know if you can see, you might be able to there inside pretty much the sensors have become a part of the brake pad. So it's not ideal really, but we'll see what we can do.
Now, I'm fairly certain at this point that this car's brakes and pads have not been touched for nearly 10 years now, and the pad sensors were not playing ball at all.
Getting these sensors off is going to be a right pig. Properly fused. Okay, what we might need to do is, where's the angry German man?
Is he angry German?
We need the angry German man. See, but I don't have that.
Schweißklammer kommt als nächstes. Sie wird hier zusammengezogen und oben entnommen. Heißt Wasserpumpenzange.
Right, so he actually gets that off straight away. Like so. Okay, like ours, right? That's fine.
Der Wandkontakt wird
Yeah, but ours doesn't do that. Apparently, these two sections here, these two little, like, I might need thinner pliers, you know. Because, come here. Come out. Oh, nearly. Yes. Come hither. Oh, it's moving. It's moving. Oh. That was so much effort to get a pad sense.
With the might of Hercules.
With the might of Hercules and his broken wrist, we've managed to get it out. I can't believe that. That's insane. So in theory, the other side should have the same. I think it does. Yes, it does. These are really gone though. These must be ages old. This is much harder than I was expecting it to be. Much harder than the BMW sensors.
What was that we said earlier about it being simpler than the BMW?
We'll edit that out.
I'm just waiting for the broken nose from the plier recoil.
It'll happen. Let's see if these ones... Let's get the twig out of the way first. That's really annoying. Half tempted to just cut them off and replace them, frankly. Not that I would advise you doing this if you can, or if you can avoid it, but I get the feeling that this is going to be a lot more pain than it really needs to be, considering we might as well just replace everything anyway. Okay, so from what we've decided, now obviously I don't recommend you doing this. If you're watching this about your brakes for the first time, we're probably not the best example for this, frankly. But our sensors are properly wedged in, and we've only been able to get one out. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to cut our sensors, and we're just going to replace them eventually. Well, not eventually, but we'll buy replacements for them. Just so that they're new all round anyway. You should do when you're doing the brakes on the car. It's just that ours haven't arrived yet, because the delivery hasn't arrived. But what we'll do is we'll at least get the calipers off that way, and we'll get the pads changed, and we can change the rotor. It's just unfortunate that that's been stuck in there, but oh well, that's
life.
That is life. You can't even...
Porsche 944 specific life.
Yeah, can't even... Are you going to focus? There we go, focus.
Blurry boy.
There we go. So, we'll cut these out and get on with it, I think. Okay, right. Sensor cut. We'll find out later if that was a good idea or not. Probably not. Now it's time to pry back the brake pads. Now, I'm pretty sure it's as simple... I do say this with... see if we can... Wow, these are properly on. No wonder there was issues. This is really rubbing against this. Trying to get the pry it in. That's really in. Wow. I wonder if we can do it. No. My God. Basically, I don't know if you might be able to come around here. But what I hadn't realised is that the pads are actually already against the rotor, like by default, which would explain a lot as to why I had so many braking problems when this was on the road. But once again, this car proves that nothing's a simple job. It might take us a while to pry these back. Just trying to think what we can do really that will help get it out quicker, because we keep bending screwdrivers. That's not really the ideal way of going about things, so we'll work it out. Okay, so obviously the next problem is the pads. The pads aren't budging, and we've just tried the brakes on the car and the calipers are seized. So I don't know how we're going to be able to get these pried back really, because there's no movement in them at all. So the alternate thing that we could do is just take the actual caliper off itself. It's not the ideal way of doing this, because really what you need to be doing is in step by step. Really you should do the sensors, remove the pads how they're meant to be removed. But naturally with cars, not everything goes the way that the tutorials say they will, hence why we do this video, because nothing ever goes right. But I think that's our only option right now, because otherwise none of this is coming off. So I think for now, it is a 19mm bolt on the back. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to show you in this shot. Maybe I'll try and get it in kind of like a close-up shot to overlay. But there's 2 bolts at the rear here. There are a couple of bolts on this side of the caliper. Don't ever remove those. Only the 2 at the rear, because these are for the actual caliper itself.
So at this point, you would at least expect the calipers to budge. But no, of course they didn't.
This is the problem I had before, is that I can't, because of the pressure, I can't put too much on my wrist, is that I haven't got enough. And to be fair, I also don't have the right tools at all. You're not meant to be using this sort of socket set for this. So maybe we'll try and find an actual proper wrench to get it off, but at the moment this is proving very, very tricky, I think is the word. Find some sort of a wrench or something we can actually put some pressure on, because this has not got enough force in it really. We'll see what we can find. Okay, so reality check. We've done some investigating and it turns out that all of the calipers are seized. It's not just this one. So we've got a bit of a problem on our hands there. It means that we're probably not going to be able to finish this today, which is annoying. You know, especially as we set out to do a particular task and we've not been able to do that. But that's the reality of project cars. We don't go here claiming that we're mechanical wizards and that things are going to go everything as planned like you see in tutorial videos, because the reality is that they don't. We don't have the tools that those people have. We don't have the experience. You know, we're working with what we've got. So I think in terms of being grounded in reality, this has probably been the most realistic experience that you can have. But not all is lost. I mean, we've got the actual wheels off, which is great. We've been able to inspect the problems. We now know that we need to add more sensors to our list to buy. I think what we'll do is we'll come back and attack the brake pads and discs in the week. So that'll probably be a separate video. But what we'll do for now is we'll clean up the caliper to make it look a little bit more presentable. Because I planned on doing that anyway. I wanted to clean all of the underside of the car and whatever. So we'll clean up the caliper. We'll see how it comes out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so seeing as nothing's worked today, what we're going to do is we're going to clean up our caliper. Now, what I would suggest is not to actually use brake cleaner. However, I'm going to, because the paint on calipers can be damaged by substances like this. But ours are going to be refurbished eventually anyway. The paint isn't actually all that fantastic to begin with, so I don't mind using it on mine. However, I would not suggest using this on yours. So what we're going to do is we've got some brake cleaner, we've got some wire wool, and we've also got some tissue. Not the most elaborate uses of products here, but we're working with what we've got. So I think for now, let's get to work to see what we can do.
Thankfully, the one thing that did go right was cleaning the caliper. Although the brake cleaner helped remove some of the debris from the surface, it did however make it obvious that these calipers are in dire need of refurbishment at some point in the near future to get them looking fresh and tidy on the car. But all in all, it did at least make them look presentable. Once again, if your brakes have good paint, please don't use brake cleaner on your calipers like I did.
Right, so that brings us to the end of episode 2 of Project 944. Now, arguably, not exactly the intro to the next episode that we expected. That's pretty much this car in a nutshell, really. But that's the point of this series. It's all about the car and the journey rather than the actual events that are happening around it instead. So
Yeah, a bit annoying. In fact, it's quite ironic because, as Jared just pointed out, the car is technically in worse condition than it was when we started 5 hours ago because we've got the pad sensors. So it is what it is. We'll try and work on it soon. We'll probably come back in a week and start working on the discs again, and then you'll get a full video of the discs being fitted as well as the pads. So for now, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate all your support on this series, and once again, massive thank you to LUDEN Automotive for his support and letting us invade his warehouse as usual. But for now, that's all. Take care. We'll catch you next time.